At 7 tomorrow night on Intimate Portrait.
She was a natural beauty.
I never believed that I was the pretty one.
But not a natural for television.
It was not something I wanted to do.
Hardship was what finally led Linda Evans down the path to stardom.
There were no other choices. God knows we needed the money.
Her career, her loves.
I fell so in love with him the minute I looked in his face.
Her life. Upfront, outspoken, Lifetime's Intimate Portrait.
Tomorrow night, Linda Evans.
I mean, even for the first few years John and I were living together, I just knew that one day it would happen. She's so gorgeous, so wonderful, and I felt totally out of place and kind of, I don't know what the word is, unworthy. I didn't belong there.
I got very depressed and very sad, lost a lot of weight, and then one day he called and he woke me up and he said, "Are you dating yet?" And I thought, wow, why am I dying for someone who is happy in their life? That day I started to eat, and that day I called my agent and I said I have to go to work and make some money and get a career or do something, because I'm certain he's going to stay with her, and I have to make a life for myself now.
Linda's new attitude quickly paid off. She appeared in several TV movies, including Female Artillery, opposite Dennis Weaver.
When this movie came along, we seized the opportunity to cast her, and that was a story of myself and 4 women that were holed up in a fort defending ourselves from the bad guys. But I got to tell you, the only one of those women that I really remember is Linda.
Dennis is a beautiful human being. He's very talented, he's very easy to work with, and very spiritual, so I get along with him very well, and we have wonderful conversations.
By 1974, Linda's career was slowly picking up steam, but the 32-year-old wasn't paying much attention to her love life. That changed when she met Los Angeles real estate magnate Stan Herman.
I really didn't even want to date. I was just happy doing my life as I was doing it, and I saw friends, and ended up at a party. And who was I sitting next to but Stan Herman? And he was so nice, and he was so kind and warm.
The couple quickly fell in love, and in 1976, Linda and Stan got married. With a new man in her life, the blonde beauty was ready to put the past behind her and forgive John and Bo.
Why would you love someone, truly love them, and then because they're not with you, decide you don't love them? I mean, what does that have to do with it? Because you're not their wife doesn't mean they still don't have those wonderful values that you married them for.
I think Linda is obviously very strong, very confident, very secure in her own femininity and in her person, that she could be so kind to me and generous to me and still keep John in her life.
The actress continued to work on the series Hunter, starring James Franciscus, and in movies such as Avalanche Express. Sadly, in 1979, just a couple of years after their wedding, Stan and Linda decided to end their marriage, and the 37-year-old decided it was time to reevaluate her life.
I sat in my living room and I said, who am I? So I decided to go within myself and really investigate my life to see what I liked, who I was, what was going on, and make some choices.
I think that when you are interested in a spiritual exploration, that is from the soul. That is a calling that comes from within.
I began to meditate as one of the things that I started to do, and reading about Middle Eastern religions and Buddhism and Hinduism and the different things, I found myself loving them immediately. And I found a lot of joy from them. I found a lot of peace with myself with them.
She doesn't accept tradition or convention, but she thinks for herself and feels for herself. And wherever that takes her, that's where she'll go.
Linda's spiritual awakening gave her the strength to cope with being alone. She decided it was time to focus on herself and revitalize her career. It wasn't going to be easy.
It was a big jump and a big adjustment for her because she hadn't worked for a number of years. And then, out of sight, out of mind, you know how that happens.
People were saying things like, Farrah Fawcett and Jacqueline Smith are younger, and that's what's happening now. And I said, I've got to do something so that I'm independent. And I had never had a passion to work before. I had never said, this is going to happen, I want it.
Linda pursued her career like never before, auditioning for every role that seemed right for her. But opportunities remained scarce, and she was beginning to worry that she was too old for Hollywood. All that changed when her agent got a lead from a casting director at ABC.
One day he called me and said, listen, I want you to read a script on the weekend. And I said, what is it? He said, it's called Oil. Just read it, see what you think. Call me Monday if you have an idea or two. I read half the script, and I knew exactly. So I called Linda up, and I said, I found the role. This is it.
They went out, and I met with Aaron Spelling, and he was wonderful. First time I saw him, he said, I want you to do the part. I said, I'll do it.
She called me and she said, I've been offered this part. She said, I don't know what, I don't know if it's going to go. I just don't know anything, but I want you to come back and work for me. So I said, well, okay. I could use the money. And I said, I'm going to buy a Toyota. Do you think the show's going to last long enough for me to pay it off? And she says, I don't know.
Despite his reputation as one of the most successful producers in the business, Aaron Spelling was having a hard time convincing ABC executives that Oil deserved a chance.
They said, well, this show is all about rich people, and our audience is not rich. And I stupidly said, I think people like to laugh at rich people as much as they do poor people.
I said, let's put everything in it that you're not supposed to do. Powerful people, rich people. You're never supposed to have powerful women. They can't be middle-aged, certainly. But let's do all of that.
In 1980, the show finally got approved, and John Forsythe was cast as Linda's husband. Linda and John were thrilled to be reunited.
I walked on the set, and I had not seen him since that time we did Bachelor Father. He said, little Linda Evanstead, my, how you've grown. And how is your mother, Arlene? Now, we're talking hundreds of years, practically. And he remembered my name, my real name, my mom's name, and could not have been dearer.
It was such a delight to spend time with Linda on the set and off the set, too. I would have paid them to do the part.
The 38-year-old knew this could be the opportunity of a lifetime and put all her hopes into this new venture. Before the show aired, the producers decided to change the name from Oil to Dynasty. Neither Linda nor America would ever be the same. This is an intimate portrait of Linda Evans. I'm James Ferrantino. On January 12, 1981, ABC aired the 3-hour pilot for Dynasty, and America was introduced to the Carrington family. 38-year-old Linda Evans played Crystal Grant, secretary and future wife of oil tycoon Blake Carrington, portrayed by John Forsythe.
I met Fallon's new pro. And I hear you did too.
Yes, I did.
It's funny. You didn't bother to mention it.
What's there to mention about a man I just said hello to?
For openers, maybe his name.
He said his name was Mark.
Yes, Mark. Mark Jennings. I was married to him once.
The prime-time soap opera was a hit with audiences, and Linda's career was suddenly back on track. It wasn't long before Dynasty became one of America's best-loved television shows. Much of the popularity of the show hinged on the triangle between Blake, Crystal, and Alexis Colby, played by Joan Collins. But Crystal was the heart and soul of Dynasty.
I wanted somebody who was a strong moral force. She was a very moral, simple, Midwestern person.
Linda became Crystal. Crystal was very sensitive to other people's feelings. Linda's always been that way. Crystal never considered herself as being a beautiful young lady. I think Linda's never considered herself being a beautiful young lady. You can write a script and the words can be marvelous, but what that actress brings to it just make the words work. And Linda was that marvelous blend of actress and words.
It certainly wasn't a stretch to be in love with Blake Carrington, to want a child passionately and to have it as one of the dreams of her life. Those were all my fantasies in terms of, as a woman, the man that would love me forever, be faithful, the child that I would have that would be my own. So those were great things to live out on that show.
In 1981, Linda started dating George Santopietro, a handsome young restaurant owner. The gorgeous couple was often photographed together, and the star became an inspiration to women across America, proving that you could be sexy, beautiful, and attracted to men at any age. When the actress turned 40 in 1982, she embraced it.
I always was upset that people would tell me that I shouldn't say my age, because I thought, why do I have to be embarrassed about how old I am? The point is, that's how old I am. I think that women were excited that it was out publicly, and they would go, yes, girl, I'm going to be 40, and I'm thrilled too.
It's very hard to tell with some people how old they are. Some people who are 70 have tremendous youth about them. Some people, when they're 30, are old and act like they're 70. Linda is ageless for me.
That same year, Linda was showered with awards. She was nominated for an Emmy, won the Golden Globe, and earned her first of 5 consecutive People's Choice Awards. The star was touched by the acclaim, but her innate shyness made it a mixed blessing.
Whereas the public just thought I had everything. I was dealing with my own insecurities. I just kept saying, can they give the award to someone else? I don't want to go do it.
The first few years, I would have to go in and say, you have to get up, you have to get dressed, they're picking us up, you've got to. And she would be almost sick to her stomach with this insecurity of having to speak and having to accept the love that the people had given her.
I finally said, you know, I have to overcome this because it's eating me up. I just, the more fear I have it, the more awards I started winning. And I couldn't stop it. It was just happening so fast. So I said, okay, I have to just go out there and face my fear.
No matter how it affected her off-screen, Linda's insecurity was never apparent on-screen. Dynasty became more popular and more outrageous by the day, and audiences eagerly look forward to the growing number of catfights between Linda and Joan Collins.
Looking quite finished. I haven't.
We found every avenue to have Joan and Linda fight. If they were at swimming pools or falling down cliffs, or where they could throw something in the house at each other, and it was campy.
When they would have their cat fights and everything, we were always aware of what was going to happen, and I always had to make 3 of each outfit.
It's always heart-tugging to watch a scene when they're 2 beautiful ladies are in the mud fighting each other, and they're both wearing $5,000 Nolan Miller gowns, you know. No, don't get that, don't rip it, don't rip it.
I loved it. That's one of the things I do very easily and very well. Joan hated it. Joan doesn't like any kind of physical roughing up, so it was very difficult for her.
If you want a rematch, just whistle. If you can.
Before long, rumors started to circulate that Linda and Joan disliked each other behind the scenes as much as they did in front of the camera.
I didn't know much about that, whether they got along or didn't get along. On the set, they did. That's the important thing. It's what happens when you're filming.
It became interesting news and something they could say more than once, and it would feed the storyline, because the storyline was the ex-wife still in love with the husband and angry with the current wife. I never hit Joan once on my own, ever.
Linda's success wasn't limited to Dynasty. She did commercials for Crystal Light and Clairol, wrote a beauty and exercise book, and starred opposite Kenny Rogers in the highly popular 1983 TV movie, The Gambler. The adventure continues.
I've been working with McCourt. My job was to slow you down any way I could.
Slow me down? They've got my son, Kate. And if I don't get him back before they get to Jubilee, they're gonna kill him.
Damn it, Brady, I didn't know anything about your son. You didn't tell me.
She had just come from Dynasty, where she was all glamorous and wonderful, and so now she gets a chance to kind of really get dirty and do a lot of stuff that she didn't get. And she's pretty physical, you know, when she gets out and starts doing things with horses and running around, she can do it all.
I was a gunslinger, I was the quickest draw. I could outshoot anybody on that set. They used to ask me to slow down because it'd be too quick. They couldn't see me do it. And it was so much fun to work with him. He used to bring me pizzas. He knew I had a thing for pizza. I would come back to my room at night and there'd be a little pizza on my door that he would have them leave for me. He's a lovely man.
By 1984, 42-year-old Linda Evans was one of the most successful stars in the world. Thanks to Dynasty and her own perseverance, she had completely turned her career around. Little did the star know that the drama on the show's set was about to become all too real. I'm James Farentino. Welcome back to an intimate portrait of Linda Evans. In 1984, Dynasty was one of the top shows on television, and Linda Evans was internationally famous. The show's producers decided to create a new love interest for Crystal and cast screen legend Rock Hudson in the role of Daniel Reese.
I had worked with Rock and a Macmillan and wife. We got along really well together. I admired him as an actor and was thrilled to see him again, and when I saw him, he looked so thin. And I asked him about it, and he said he had done a film in the Middle East, and he got a bug, and he lost a lot of weight, and he was trying to get the weight back, but he seemed fine, he seemed happy. None of us even had a clue that he had such a secret that was so hard for him.
Rock was desperately ill with a disease that most people knew very little about at the time, AIDS. Linda worked with him closely, and in a now famous scene, even kissed him.
There was never any suspicion. If there had been a suspicion, I would have never let that happen to Linda. And maybe it was dangerous just associating with him on the set. None of us knew a damn thing about AIDS at that time.
When we did the scene, he was very timid with me. And as a result of it, they reshot it because they said it wasn't passionate enough. And later when I found out that he had AIDS, I understood how much he tried to protect me.
When Rock publicly revealed that he had AIDS, Linda was heartbroken. She couldn't believe the kind man she had worked with was on the verge of death. On the set of Dynasty, there was panic.
People started staying away from me. People wouldn't hug me anymore. And I found it to be a very good time in my life because I got to see who people were. I got to see who they really were.
There was tremendous shock, and everyone was very frightened for Linda. I must say, she was the calmest person of all, because the Shapiros were calling doctors and worrying, and Aaron Spelling was calling his doctor and frightened about what to do.
It stopped us cold when it happened, when he couldn't work anymore. We were just, what happened? He can't have AIDS. And we all sweated along with him of how long he would last and everything. And then we shut down the day he passed away, although he hadn't been on the show for quite a while. But Linda never brought it up.
I never thought I could catch it. I mean, in my mind, I felt fine, but there were enough people saying to me, you have to have a test, you have to do this, you have to do that. Of course, I had to have a test. And of course, anytime you have a test and you're waiting to find out, you think, is that possible that that could be?
Thankfully, Linda's HIV test came back negative. Despite the public nature of this sad event, Dynasty continued to dominate the ratings. In 1985, one of the series' plot lines had Crystal giving birth to a baby girl. In real life, the question of motherhood was often on Linda's mind.
Oh, I always wanted to have children. John didn't want to have children because he had 2 children and he had a lot of complications with the children. So he definitely didn't want us to have a child. And when I was with Stan, I wanted to be sure that he wanted to be around and was the husband that I wanted to have the children. We ended up getting a divorce, and then it was a question of getting the right man, the right moment. I didn't want to have a child without the husband. That was my choice.
I think probably in a way it was a disappointment, but you know, she makes up for it in other ways. Most women want to have children, but you know, you want to have them with the right person too.
While her personal life may have presented her with challenges, Linda's career was unstoppable. In 1986, she co-starred with Jason Robards in The Last Frontier, one of the highest-rated miniseries in television history. That same year, the 45-year-old received a great honor when she got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was placed in front of the Paramount Theater, where Linda Evanstad had worked 30 years earlier.
This is a wondrous moment of
of living a fantasy. A dream from long ago come true. And even more than that, it's a gift for those of us who believe, as I do, that you must hold on to your dreams until you get them, because it's never too late.
That same year, Linda began to think about leaving Dynasty. In 1988, during the show's 9th season, she decided she'd had enough.
I was in my late 40s, and I said, wow, I'm just going to keep acting forever. I didn't see the show ever ending. It just seemed like the public really loved it. But I thought, when am I going to have a life?
For 9 years, we worked 7 days a week, not just with the show, but everything that transpired on the weekends, or the movies of the week, or the other projects that she did. And that, it can burn you out.
The last day that I worked, I'll never forget. I just hadn't counted on so much emotion. And the cast, the crew, everyone, it was just unbelievable. I thought, oh, what have I done? You know, they'd become like a family to me.
Six months after Linda's departure, and an astonishing 9-year run, Dynasty was canceled. Linda's life was rapidly changing. In 1989, she decided to relocate to a home in Tacoma, Washington, and was finally free to do whatever she wanted.
I rebelled against having to look a certain way and be an ideal, and I just wanted to stay up late, and I ate too much, and I played, and it was great fun, and I gained 25 pounds, and I was thrilled. Then I fell in love and said, oh my God, I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in my whole life. And I thought about it for months, and I made a choice not to do it. I knew that if I had a baby, that I would be 1,000,000,000% there for that child, to such a degree that I knew it would be a problem for me because I would be giving my whole life to the child. And I thought, I just want my life for me now. I want everything for Linda rather than other people.
Linda was happier than she'd ever been and started taking an active interest in Yanni's career, producing concerts and TV specials with him.
It's just been an incredible creative experience for me, and he allowed me to be a part of it, which was so much fun. Never knew that I could do some of the things that I ended up doing behind the scenes, which was such a joy for me because I loved his music so much. I wanted the whole world to know about him.
She was very helpful to his career, which he very much acknowledges, which I like that about him, that he didn't go, oh yeah, I did that without you.
This relationship was different for Linda. She found that she could be in love and still maintain a career as an actress. It seemed that Linda Evans had found the life she'd always longed for. Unfortunately, there was still more heartbreak ahead in her future. Welcome back to an intimate portrait of Linda Evans. I'm James Farentino. In 1998, 56-year-old Linda Evans had been dating Yanni for 9 years when the couple realized that the relationship had run its course.
There was no one reason. If there was one reason, it would have been easier. I mean, thank God he was always faithful. Thank God he was honest. It was none of the things that had ever happened to me before. He was totally there for me in every way, which makes it even harder sometimes. But sometimes things just have a natural end. And both just one day said, okay, we can still be friends. It was hard for a while, really hard.
The same year Linda and Yanni split up, 72-year-old John Derrick unexpectedly passed away. It was a tragedy for everyone who had been a part of his life.
I called Linda and told her that what was happening, they had pronounced him that he was going to die. I mean, the doctors were warning us that we had hours. She just couldn't accept it. It was like, no, wait a minute, this isn't. It was so shocking.
People like John aren't supposed to die. You just don't. God knows. For those of us who knew him and loved him, it's nothing compared to what Bo has gone through.
She was the most helpful of anyone, I think, for me to get through that period when John first died and trying to just come out of a numb period that I was in. And Linda had a way of calling and saying just all the things I needed to hear at just the right time and releasing a lot of emotions that I was having trouble dealing with. And it was she's very intuitive and very interesting that way. She helped me so much.
Throughout her life, Linda has always taken care of the people close to her. She has a wide circle of friends and enjoys a loving relationship with her sisters Carol and Kathy. Today, the star travels the country promoting awareness of aging issues among women.
Women are caretakers. They take care of other people, but they don't always take care of themselves. And this is part of the problem later on in life. They're afraid to talk about it and mention it because it signals that they're over the hill, older, not young, not sensual, whatever it is that they happen to think. They suffer as a result of that. So when someone like me comes along and just starts talking about it, they listen.
Linda's life is full and satisfying. She is happy, healthy, and single.
I've been a single woman for 25 years since my divorce from Stan. I date. I see people. I have someone I'm seeing now. It's a beautiful man.
Growing up, Linda Evans could never have imagined what life had in store for her. The path she took brought her fame, fortune, joy, and pain. It also made her the woman she is today, a woman who has found her place in the world and loves every minute of her life.
She is like a mother to me, and she's the best friend. She's my best friend, hands down. She really knows who she is. Not many people can say that.
Linda has this unique ability that when you're in the room, you're the only person in the room, the only person in the world. She really has this ability to look you in the eyes and talk to you and make you feel important.
If you're lucky enough to have a friend like Linda Evans, then you don't really need any more than that. Linda is loyal, beyond loyal, and probably the most generous person I've ever known in my life.
She's a caring person, a beautiful person, a sweet person, a dear person. I don't know if I can change this to an adjective and wouldn't hurt anybody ever. That was Linda. That is Linda. She'll never change.
I've never been happier in my life than right now. I have more peace of mind. I have more joy, more freedom than I've ever had. It's almost as if my life is just beginning. And I intend to have 40 more years of a lot of fun. I'm just busy living my life.
Today, Linda tours the country speaking on the many issues facing women as they mature. And while Linda and Yanni are no longer romantically involved, they both agree that their friendship will endure. Linda says that she has learned to rely on herself for happiness, and we think that that's beautiful. For Intimate Portrait, I'm Meredith Vieira.